Welcome to the One State Solution podcast. My name is Alon.
I'm Elik.
Yes, we are both anti-Zionists,
Mm-hmm.
even though we are Hebrew,
Yeah.
and it says Israel on our passport, and
Yes.
it says Jewish on our identity cards,
Yes.
right?
Right. That's what it says.
That's what it says.
And yeah. Let's. I always feel we have to make an episode on that, but this is not for today.
Yeah, we just want to present
Yeah.
our position so that people don't get any
Yeah.
wrong ideas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So today we have a very interesting story to tell you. Uh, Today is Tuesday, 16th of April. Yesterday was my birthday, by the
Yes.
way. We celebrated it together.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I want to say that we met up with some friends. You might know them from the other podcast that we do. And Elik sang a song, uh, sang me a birthday song, and it was very touching. And he talked about how I influenced his life,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I felt meaningful, and I felt like I'm doing good in the world, and I felt like I'm doing the right thing, and I felt grateful for having a good friend like you.
Yes, and I'm very grateful. And I will say, I said in the song that I felt like that I know you for a few months, and I feel like you made me grow like in few years.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was
that really flattered me actually.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
and I
it's really
also
true and it's true, I don't say stuff
yeah I know
that I
you
don't
never
mean.
just say stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. I feel like I've grown up several years in the last few months, and I feel like you had a great part in that.
Yeah, and part of this is what you see, this conversation and this
Yes.
conversation that goes on and on and on and on.
Yes.
Also
It's a
when we're
marathon.
not, yeah,
We always say it's a marathon.
yeah.
Okay, so today is Tuesday, April 16th,
Mm-hmm.
and exactly 1 week ago,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it was Tuesday, April 9th,
Mm-hmm.
if my math is correct. Um, we had an encounter, right?
Yeah.
Let's call it an encounter.
Encounter, yeah.
And you want to start telling it from your point of view? Like, how did it start?
Okay, we just
Okay?
start from the story and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to start with the story because it's
Yeah.
a spicy one.
Yeah.
Okay. And they know the title. Okay. The audience, you know the title of the fucking video.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yes.
And this story regards this man, Professor Yuval Noah Harari. And we're naming names, and we will explain why we want to name
Yeah.
names.
And
And this is a story also about him.
and
Okay?
I want to say, if there's a chance you will see it,
Yes.
Mr. Harari,
Yes.
we're talking to you.
Yes, also.
To you also, and we will explain after why we decided to expose you this way.
I don't know if the word expose is.
It's not exposed, yeah.
We're just telling what happened, man.
We're just telling what happened.
But we will talk. We will discuss this.
We will discuss
later.
this. We just tell what happened. We just
Okay.
share a story. Okay.
So this is the story. So you want to start telling
I
the
will
story
start,
from your angle?
yeah, and then you will take it.
Okay. Yeah.
We will see. We will tell it together.
Yeah.
So we met somewhere in Tel Aviv, and we just scheduled to do some work together about the podcast and
Yeah.
other activities. And we met in a place that's called the Dizengoff Center. It's like the center of the
Yeah, urban Tel Aviv.
And it's not an incident that we met him in the most like bourgeois
Yes.
place.
Yes, it's not. It's not an accident. No.
It's not an accident. And we were supposed to take a bus
Yes.
to go to my studio to record an episode, and then the bus that was supposed to take us,
it didn't stop.
It didn't stop at the station. It was very annoying. It stopped nearby. He let some passengers get off, but he didn't pick us.
Yeah, probably it was full or something. I don't know. But it was annoying.
And it was annoying, and we were a bit pissed. Yeah, a little bit.
We said we'll take the next one.
Okay. We said we'll take the next one, and and then from my point of view, I see somebody tells Alon something.
Yeah.
I didn't catch what it was.
Yeah.
He said like, look, something there, and he was pointing this guy towards a nature shop in the other side of
Yeah.
the road.
Yes.
And he was pointing there,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand what happens, but Alon suddenly says like, come, we're going, and I'm like, what? Where are we going? He just crossed like the street, like very like in the middle, like, and I
So what this guy said is, eh, isn't that Yuval
Yuval
Noah
Noah
Harari
Harari.
on the other side of the street going into the nature shop?
Yeah, and I didn't hear that. I just see that Alon drags me into the nature shop, and then I recognized our beloved professor
Yes.
choosing products, and Alon just comes straight to his face, and then
Yes.
and you want to say what you said to him?
So I started off by asking, "Are you Professor Noah Harari?" He said, "Yes, I am." And I started off by saying, um, "I read your book around a decade ago, maybe 12 years ago. I don't remember what year exactly. It was around the time that it came out in Hebrew. I read it in Hebrew, and it really. I didn't say all this. I'm telling. I'm putting a little bit of fluff, but I said this was the general idea. Uh, it really opened my mind. And Yuval Noah Harari, I'm telling you now, I meant every word, okay? Uh, this book really opened my mind. Let me say a few things, okay? Like specific things.
I also want to add
Yeah.
about this book, and okay,
Okay, so let me just say one positive thing,
yes,
like the myth of Peugeot, okay?
mm-hmm,
This is a radical idea to me, okay?
mm-hmm,
I read it and I was like, fuck, I need to, like, I had thoughts that were in this direction
mm-hmm,
before, but this was like such a clear, uh, um, formulation of
mm-hmm.
this idea that all of the things around us are in some sense creations of our mind,
Mind, yes,
intersubjective, and I
yeah,
think Buddhism, if you Yuval, I appreciate Buddhism as well, like you,
mm-hmm,
okay? I also have some criticism, okay? This is
yes,
also, and I don't claim to be an expert, but I
mm-hmm,
also have some criticism from my own experience. And by the way, political criticism, okay?
mm-hmm,
Um, and I really appreciate, I believe that what you try to do there is like present a kind of basic idea of Buddhism, of dependent arising, of
mm-hmm,
phenomena,
mm-hmm.
okay? In a language that is understandable to Western readers. And I really benefited from this, really, 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 and I appreciate it. I appreciate this and another, let's say, 100 to 150 ideas that I learned from this book,
Yes,
which are meaningful and which opened my mind sincerely. Okay?
and I also like I would say
Yeah.
now that I didn't intervene in the conversation too much. It was
Yes.
mostly because Alon is more brave and confrontational than me. I want to learn that from you. No,
I need to say,
what?
when I heard this, something in me just acted like I didn't, like I was like, okay, I'm doing it. Like I
Yeah.
need to talk. Yuval, please understand. When I heard your name, I was like, I gotta talk to you. I gotta because you have a certain like position in society. You have a certain like relationship. Okay, one way relationship with me, but maybe now a little bit more two way. And really, I had to talk to you. Okay, really understand me. That it was very important for me to talk to you. Okay.
Yes, and I part of the reason we do it because I was there and I was
Mm.
listening, but because I have this, I don't know, like he's a big name, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was a bit paralyzed,
Yes.
and I want to say to you, Yuval, many things that I didn't say
Yes.
there. I
So
said few
here's the
stuff.
first thing.
Yeah, but I also wanted to add that this book influenced me, I think exactly because of the reason you said, of
Yes.
understanding how concepts, that even things that we regard to them as like part of the material world, they're
Yes.
also consciousness dependent phenomena,
Yes. Like money, for example.
like money, like
Yeah. Like
states.
states. Yes, exactly.
And that's
Like
why,
the self, which is like the pinnacle of Buddhism,
yeah,
right?
and to me it's
Yeah.
very helped me in my radical work because I understand that for example, how you can use, I will just say in short that what Yuval says in his book that I'm an anarchist. I just call him Yuval. Fuck this
Yeah.
professor. What Yuval? Yes, you want?
Yuval, we respect you. Okay, we respect your work. We respect the way that you achieved your titles and achievements. We respect it. But we are anarchists, and we do not want to do niceties like
Yeah,
for like social impression. We don't do
yeah.
this.
We are
Okay.
equals.
Yes, we speak as equals. All people. All
All
people.
people.
We want all people to speak as equals. We think this is the best way to bring about peace, justice, and
Not because we
harmony.
say we know as much as you on
Yeah.
history or
Yeah.
anything, but
Yeah.
because I think morality, to be conscientious people, it's
Mm.
the task of all human
All human
beings.
beings. Yes.
So that in that regard, that's this way I regard you as equal.
Yes.
And I wanted to say that his ideas, like he shows in his book, how like states is not a real material phenomenon.
Yes.
It's something that we build, that is built in our minds, and if it wouldn't
Yes.
exist in our mind, it also wouldn't exist in reality.
Yes.
And that's why part of the work of we as radicals need to do is dismantle the concepts that limits our imagination
Yes.
on better future, right?
Yes. Deconstruct them
Yeah,
in order to, at the very least, make them more flexible
yes,
and less rigid. Right?
yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So okay, so you told him that you appreciate him. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's continue.
So he smiles and he says
He was
thank you.
very flattered. You
Yes, I
say
think he
no,
was
honestly, genuinely,
because my compliment was genuine.
and it
Okay,
was yeah,
I need to say this. My compliment was genuine, and it's a bit ironic. Okay, Yuval, that it's like the thing that I have with my dad now. Okay,
yes,
like I keep going to my dad and telling him, Dad, you taught me this. Okay,
yes,
you taught me those lessons when I
yeah,
was younger. Okay, you taught me
yes,
those lessons. I learned.
yes.
Okay, like also the Zionist system taught me a lot of lessons by teaching me about the Holocaust. We're gonna
Right,
talk about this,
yeah,
right? And I learned.
yeah.
Okay,
They provided it with
how
us many of the weapons that we turn
why
against them.
how is it that I need to apologize for learning what was taught, like for taking seriously? This is so ridiculous. Like this is funny. יובל, אתה לימדת אותי את זה, אתה לימדת אותי לחשוב רדיקלי. בוא תחשוב רדיקלי, אחי, מה הולך? מה עובר אליך? עוד שנייה. Okay, so we need to tell the story first. We need to
We
tell
need to
the
tell the
story
story.
first. But we need to say outright that we're going to criticize Yuval Noah Harari's point of view. Okay?
Yes.
We're going to criticize liberalism, okay, as a phenomenon, and we think that Yuval Noah Harari is an exemplary representative of this ideology of liberalism. You say this very explicitly, right, Yuval? He says this explicitly, okay?
And I want to say that
Yes.
it's not personal. We just know that in every society that commits, we will get to it later, but
Yes.
that commits crimes, the intellectuals play a role.
So I said, your book really influenced me. And then the next thing that I said was, but I am disappointed with the way you are talking, or more than that, not talking about what is going on in this land. There is a Holocaust going on in our backyard, and you are not saying enough against it. And this makes me very disappointed.
Maybe I will play him. I will say the answer.
Okay, so what was the answer?
So first thing he said, it was, "I'm with you." That
Yes.
was the first thing.
Yes.
So I didn't know what "with you" means, but it means that there's some condemnation in his opinion, something that should be condemned.
He did say that he agrees that there are war crimes being committed, and I think he admitted that these war crimes are many.
Yeah.
Okay, there are many horrible war crimes being committed right now in Gaza. I think that he said we agree on that.
Yeah.
And we do agree on that. Yes, definitely we agree on that.
But then he said he does not agree that what's going on is genocide. Right?
Yes. He said he doesn't agree that it's a Holocaust, that we don't need to use such expressions. And he also said that he doesn't agree that it's a genocide. Okay, I do want to say, we are trying to recreate the conversation as best as we can. This was 1 week ago. We don't remember all the details, okay? We wrote like a synopsis of the conversation before we went on tape here. And we tried to recreate it as best as we could. If there are any, ways that we are misrepresenting what was said, we apologize, and we would love to be corrected. It's fine.
Yeah.
But we're trying our best to present what was said. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's been around 2 weeks since we recorded this episode, and we finished editing it. And in the meantime, Yuval published an article in Haaretz newspaper. And you want to say a little bit about what he said in this article?
Yeah, like basically it's similar stuff that he said to us, but I
Yes.
feel in more like he laid it out in very long and I must say very exhausting article.
Yes.
And and I felt first of all it is too little too late because we're already 6 months into it, but even more than that, we feel that it's same kind of liberal trick of kind of trying to be critical, but in the end you're just reinsuring the powerful hegemonic worldview. And that's what we think about liberalism in general.
Yes, so Yuval does represent an ideology, and this ideology is liberalism. And one of the goals of this episode is to criticize the ideology of liberalism through criticizing Yuval, who is maybe one of the most prominent representatives of this ideology. And we feel like in this article, he really laid out the liberal way of treating this genocide. And maybe we will do another episode where we just go over this article and deconstruct it and criticize what he is saying in this article, because we feel like this is a great way to criticize the liberal ideology in general.
I feel that one of the goals of our podcast in general is to criticize liberalism, and this is it's one of the things we do, and this through looking at the work of like people Yuval Noah Harari, it's a good way to do it.
Yes. Okay, so now let's go back to the episode and continue the story.
Okay.
So okay, and then let's remember what happened. We have it written down. I can like read it from my phone. We no reason to be confused. Okay, so I asked Yuval, why don't you think that this is a genocide? And he said to me, because the way that I think of genocide is that there must be intent to destroy an entire population.
Yes.
Okay.
And that it's completely killing in the sake of killing,
Yes.
right? He would claim it's not killing in the sake of killing because there's a target of, I don't know if he said that, of eliminating Hamas, but I think that's kind of something you can understand.
Yes, as a political goal.
Yeah, as a political goal.
So this is so this makes it not a genocide.
Yeah,
and
it's a war that maybe in the context of this war there are war crimes, but it's not a genocide.
But he also said that if you stretch the definition of something too much, then it becomes unusable. Okay.
Yes.
So it becomes meaningless. Okay. And I understand this argument, yes, I understand, but I don't think that calling what is going on in Gaza right now is stretching the definition by any sense of the imagination. Because, so this is what I told Yuval. I told him I know the definition given by Lemkin, which is, I am no expert in history, okay, but I know that Lemkin was the person who coined this phrase, genocide, and he was a Jewish person of, if I'm not mistaken, Polish origin, okay? I am not sure. We can check right now. Raphael Lemkin, he lived in the first half of the 20th century, a Polish lawyer of Jewish descent who is known for coining the term genocide and campaigning to establish the Genocide Convention. During the Second World War, he campaigned vigorously to raise international outrage against atrocities in Axis-occupied Europe, and he wrote a book about this, okay? It was during this time that Lemkin coined the term genocide to describe Nazi Germany's extermination policies against Jews and Poles. And we are both victims
Mm-hmm.
of this, okay?
Yes.
We both of our families were victims of this atrocity, okay?
Yes.
So we have second and third generation trauma from this crime that Lemkin was speaking about, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I told him that I know a little bit about his theories, and what I know is that Lemkin described genocide
Mm-hmm.
as a process that is intentional, yes, that is intentional, and the intent of which is to destroy a culture,
Yeah.
okay? Genocide, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we have homicide,
Mm-hmm.
that is killing a human,
Yeah.
okay? Homicide, okay? We have suicide. That suicide it yourself. It's killing yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Genocide. What is genus? Genus is like a branch. Like a okay. Genus is like uh, the trunk, but it's like gene. Okay.
Yeah. But it
Genus.
doesn't
It's like
mean
a people.
but it doesn't necessarily only people who are from the same genes or from same it's
Yes,
any
it's a group of people.
yeah, it's any
It's a
society.
it's a distinct group of people that that share some
Yeah.
common, let's say, tradition
Yeah.
or common political beliefs also
Or
as well.
territory. I think in
Yes.
this case of Gaza, the territory
Yes,
is very important.
it can also be a
Yeah.
location. So again, we are no experts, but we understand the general
Yeah.
concept,
Yeah.
okay? And this includes, for example, destroying hospitals, destroying schools, destroying universities, destroying libraries, destroying courts, right? This is all
Yeah.
the culture, okay?
Destroying all the things that makes life
That
possible.
makes a people.
Yeah.
That makes a group,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so destroying that.
And also a place to be inhabitable in the most
Yes, homes, destroying homes, families,
bakeries, places that produce food.
yes, agriculture,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So all these things, when you destroy them, this is part of a genocide, and
Yes.
also trying to destroy intently, in whole or in part. This is in the UN definition.
Right.
This is in the
In
UN
whole
definition.
or in
Here,
part.
in whole or in part, a group of people.
Yes, and I think like people want to say they make the genocide bar such like they make it in a way that the only way you could recognize it is
Yes.
after it's finished.
Yes.
And the whole point of this term was to point the stuff when they're happening.
This was Raphael Lemkin's goal,
Yeah.
to identify these things. There is a joke. I want to tell a joke.
Yeah.
The joke is, this guy goes to visit his friend, okay, and they are making tea, okay, and then the kettle boils and it starts to whistle. So the guy takes the kettle and he spills the water into the sink, and he throws the kettle on the floor, and he breaks the kettle. Okay, so his friend asks, "Why did you do that? Are you crazy?" And he says, "My wife was run over by a train 20 years ago, and you have to kill these things when they are small."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't remember the context that I told this joke now.
It's funny because you said it in the context that we recognize the genocide when it
Yes,
starts.
right,
But
yes.
it's also the people who committed genocide that
Yes.
says we need to kill them when they're small. You know, I couldn't help but not think about.
Yeah, okay.
It's also an argument that people say why it's okay to kill.
So let's see if we're recognizing something.
Palestinian children.
So here is the intellectually honest question in this context. Are we recognizing something or are we not recognizing something? And here is what I want to say to you, Yuval. There are many documents at this point which explain thoroughly what the definition of genocide is according to Lemkin and according to the UN. Okay, so these definitions are different. The UN's definition is much narrower. And by the way, the history of this is that Lemkin fought to have a more deep definition of genocide, which
Mm-hmm.
encapsulates this idea of trying to destroy a culture in whole or in part. Okay,
Yes.
and it is kind. I imagine it as a kind of dramatic scene because he had a lot of pressure from the representatives of all the countries that were part of the UN to.
Mm-hmm.
There was a committee, and he was part of this committee. Okay, to decide what is the UN definition of genocide, and
Mm-hmm.
he tried to push for his definition. Okay,
Yes.
which he believed in very deeply as an
Mm-hmm.
intellectually honest person who had a personal interest in what was
Mm-hmm.
going on because he knew that his family could be or was even, at this point was
Mm-hmm.
victim of such a thing. Okay, so uh, uh, there was this thing where the countries that were part of the UN that had a lot of power in the UN objected to this and said that they want a narrower definition. And why did they want a narrower definition? So that they will not be guilty of genocide. So this is a classic case of
Mm-hmm.
the criminal formulating the law
Yeah.
and getting away with literal murder,
Yes.
literal mass murder,
Yes.
in the just because they formulate the law. This
Yeah.
is horrible, and this is why we are anarchists, right?
Right. That's why,
Because
because
countries
this.
don't care about us. They don't.
Yeah, and they always use the law to empower the powerful.
Yes.
And I also thought that I play the game of like saying this is genocide, but to me it's not about words.
Yes.
There is mass killing of people, and the more you kill, the more son of a bitch you are, and
Yes.
the more bastard you are, and the more you justify mass killing in all sorts of ways. We are using this term because it's one word
Yes.
to talk about total destruction, and it's instead of like saying they destroyed all the hospitals and they starved people, and you can say it in one word.
Yes.
It makes language, and it's such a shitty world
Yeah.
that we need to have a word
Yes.
for
this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Horrible.
in a sane
Horrible.
world, people will say genocide. What is it? It's like you made a video about it.
Yes. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
How is the world like this?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then people use the invention of this kind of word, like Yuval Noah Harari, to say it's not genocide. So I don't have to.
I wanted to say something about this.
Okay.
And I want to turn directly to Yuval. I think you did a hustle on me, okay? And please tell me if I'm wrong. But here is what you did. You said, here is my definition of genocide. You said, you didn't say it, but it was obvious. I object to genocide. I object to genocide. If there were genocide, I would object to it, okay? This is what you implied. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then you said, here is my definition of genocide. And you brought a definition that I must say, Yuval, is not intellectually honest in my book. I am sorry. It is not. It is not. Because it is a definition that is so narrow that nothing really, or maybe very tiny specks of like history can be considered under this definition, okay, to satisfy this definition. And also, you cannot as you said, you cannot stop it because you cannot prove such a high bar at this at the point in time that this is happening. So you cannot. So it's like only after the fact, maybe like years after.
Yes. Okay.
And I think that this is a hustle to put the bar high so that you can play the double game. Okay, the double game of liberals. I'm sorry, Yuval Noah Harari, we are going to criticize liberalism here. So you play the double game. You say, I am against genocide, but this is not genocide because the definition of genocide that I gave in an ad hoc manner, okay, to this word is what is convenient to me as a privileged person in a supremacist system, mind you. Okay, so Yuval asked, so when England laid a siege on Germany in the 1940s, was that also a genocide? And bombed Germany. Was that also a genocide? So we will have our friend Dan, who is a historian, over to give his answer to this question, and I think it's a very interesting answer. But here is what I said. I said that I don't know. That I don't know what the answer to, and it might be.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't study this deeply enough. I don't know, and maybe it might. Maybe it is genocide. Maybe it isn't. But I don't think that it is relevant.
I want to say why people always use the example of what the Allies did.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Because we all know that the Allies, now we can get into it, but they committed a lot of crime in the Second World War that I'm sure if we get into the details, if it was necessary to do it in order to win the war, I'm not sure.
Yes.
They could save way more Jews than what they did, and not just Jews, all the
Yes.
innocents who
Yes.
died in this genocide.
Yes.
And there are many things that they do, but people use it to justify everything they did because they fought a power that we regard as greater evil than Nazis.
Or maybe total evil.
Or total evil.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't accept that. I
Yes.
think that, okay, I understand that Nazism was a horrible thing that should have been defeated.
Yes.
But we can ask questions
Look at
about
how
this
this
narrative.
is mirrored. Look at how this is mirrored.
Yeah.
In current U.S. Politics. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this is again what happens with liberalism. Okay. So liberalism in the United States is represented mainly by the Democratic Party. Okay.
Yeah.
And here is what Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are saying. They are saying, look at the boogeyman, Trump. Look at him. He's a Nazi.
Yeah.
You should choose us because we are not Nazis.
Yeah.
And they are doing this while they are supporting and funding and arming a nation that is committing a genocide.
Yes.
And denying that this is a genocide as it is happening.
Yeah, and they want to point some evil that people who are in their own cult.
Yes.
It's very easy to see the evils
Of
other cults.
Yes.
And then they use it to enforce their own cult. So they say Hamas are Islamists. Then
Yeah.
okay, I don't like Hamas, and I
Yes.
don't like the Iranian regime, and I
Yeah.
don't like, but you're not fighting them in the
Yes.
name of democracy.
Yes.
You're not fighting them in the name of equal rights
So
to everybody.
we had a thought before, right?
Yeah.
That if Israel says what we are doing now to destroy Hamas, and after we do it, we commit to having one democratic state with equal rights for all.
Yeah.
Okay, I would still object.
Me
Because
too.
of like I think that this goal is unattainable. I
Yeah.
think that this is a fool's errand. I think all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Okay, I would still object. Okay, but I would at least have like the minimal belief that this is an honest,
Yeah.
kind of endeavor.
Yeah.
Okay, but now they're not saying this. We
They're
we
not
want to
saying-
defeat Hamas, and then we want the occupation to continue.
Yeah, and to do something
Yes.
that is even worse than what Hamas is just
Yes.
suggesting, to
Yes.
completely ethnically cleanse the whole land
Yes.
from all
Yes.
the Palestinians. So
Yes.
so why we need to believe them and
And this reminds me that we need to just say one more point.
Mhm.
A major part of the definition of genocide, at least according to the UN, okay, which is a stricter definition of genocide than the definition given by Lemkin, and it includes, in a very direct way, the part of intent, okay. And intent is hard to prove,
It's hard to prove.
especially at the time of what is happening, because these regimes that commit genocide usually try to hide what they are doing for natural reasons. But this case of Israel is such an extreme case that everything is out in the open. Okay, people from all over, from all layers of society, are saying outright, "This is what we are doing," in their own words.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a genius to understand what is being said. The prime minister is saying some stuff. Many ministers are saying some stuff. People from the media are saying some stuff. Journalists are saying some stuff. I don't know, entertainment personalities.
There's
are
like
saying-
hundreds. I
And
don't know how
everything-
many pages of like.
Yes.
But I also want to
Yes.
say something about
Yes.
the intent thing, okay?
Yes.
Because at least they say officially we want to destroy Hamas. We
Yes.
don't want to destroy the Palestinian people.
Yes.
And look what they did. And I think you can say it in some way planned, okay?
Yes.
They sieged Gaza for 20 years.
Yes.
The only people who could create something there were Hamas, because they built the tunnel system, so they
Yes.
empowered themselves. And all the society is depend on Hamas because of that situation.
Yes, exactly.
And then all the health, all the police, everything is Hamas there. So if you say I'm gonna kill Hamas, so it means I'm gonna kill the population. It's
Yes.
and also and they say it all the time because all they want to say they say we want to kill Hamas, so we need to stop this distinguishing between the population and Hamas because
Yes.
they say themselves it's indistinguishable.
Okay, so again, it's us from 2 weeks later. And maybe this is a good point to say that during the recording of the episode, we had a conversation with our friend Dan, who is a historian, a master's student in history, and he helped us kind of deconstruct the arguments that Yuval raised in our conversation. So you want to tell a little bit about what we talked about with Dan?
Yeah, so we talked, it was mainly like 3 points.
Yes.
So we spoke why the term genocide, why it's important to use it, why it applies to the Gaza situation.
Yes.
And I would expand to the situation between like Israel and the Palestinians in general. Like, and I think Dan's lies few points there that are very like I didn't hear it put in that way from anybody, so I really recommend to watch. And also we talked about why is it important to raise up our voice and speak about it in any way we can, and say the truth and to not to be polite about it. And the third point, you want to say about the third point?
Yeah, so toward the end of the conversation, I asked Yuval, do you want a democracy for everyone between the river and the sea? And he said something about, well, look, historically, sometimes there are situations where democracy is possible, and sometimes there are situations where democracy is impossible. And his implication was maybe that the Palestinians are not ready to participate in a democracy with the Jewish population in Israel. I don't know exactly what he wanted to say, so maybe he wanted to say that he supports the two-state solution, which we think is problematic, right?
Yeah, we believe that it's in a way. I feel the two states now is like kind of people to avoid a real. It's not a real solution to the real because it's not a real solution and it doesn't spot the real problem. That's
Yes.
what I feel like the root
Yes.
problem. Yeah.
Yes, and I also feel, and I say this in the original episode that we recorded, that it comes from a place of privilege. You know, it's like very easy to say yes, yes, yes. Democracy is not possible now because you, Yuval, enjoy the benefits of a democracy. You have a vote. You have the privileges of being a citizen in a country that respects your rights.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very easy to say these people deserve a democracy. These people do not. These people are ready for democracy. They are not ready for democracy. So again, we
usually I feel like the two-state people use their willing say like they say I accept two states. That's why what we're doing now is okay. Because one day there's gonna be two states. Like that's how I feel. Usually they use it.
So again, we deconstructed this point with Dan, and the full conversation will be on Elik's channel, Sound of Anarchy, and this will be a kind of companion episode to this episode. And you are welcome to go to Elik's channel. There will be a link below this video. You are welcome to go to Elik's channel and watch this this full conversation with Dan.
you brought up the fear of maybe this is unethical. You had a private conversation with a private person in a
Yeah.
private kind of moment. Is it okay to kind of take him out of the closet to say, to bring out the arguments that he brought, to continue the debate publicly without his permission?
Yeah.
And I said that I think that you a person like Yuval Noah Harari, an intellectual who is getting a lot of money for the work that he does,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a certain function in the system. He has
Yes.
a function in the system. He's not a private person.
Yes.
He does not only express himself, he
Yes.
expresses the consciousness of a certain class, a very powerful class,
Yes.
and he has a responsibility, and he does not enjoy the, how would you say this in English?
Immunity, maybe.
Immunity. He does not enjoy that immunity that private people might have.
Yes.
I think he's a public person just as much as a politician, just
Yes.
as much as a military person, and he needs to be yeah. And I think he's, especially in a time like this when something as historical, as horrific as what's going on right now in Gaza is going on. And when you always think about, the intellectuals, where were they
Yes.
in certain episodes in history? I'm not even going to mention them. Yes, definitely, this is a debate that we have a right to speak about this publicly, for sure, I believe.
All right. Well said.
I think there is a very important point here that I
Yeah.
want to express, and I think this is one of the main criticisms that I have about liberalism. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I think liberalism is a morality of masters. Okay?
Of what?
Masters.
Masters.
The way masters speak. Okay?
Yeah.
The way masters, they don't want to feel like they're masters.
Yes.
Okay? So this is the difference. Fascists say,
Want to feel like
we want to feel like masters. We are proud of it, and we are going to do whatever we can to feel like masters.
Yeah.
Okay, this is fascists, classical fascists. Okay,
Yes.
what do liberals do? They say, "Oh, we're not. We believe in equality. We believe," and they say all kinds of things. Liberté, égalité, fraternité in the French Revolution.
Yeah.
Okay, which was, I think, a lie. Okay,
Yeah.
so a liberal lie. Okay,
Yeah.
so the liberals say we support everything that is good, but then in the way that they speak about every particular situation and in their privilege and in their material conditions, and liberalism is a product, so Marxist criticism would say, and I am no expert, okay, but as far as I understand it, would say liberalism is a product of being in a supremacist system, maybe not at the top, very top, but certainly in a privileged position in this system. Okay? Like יובל is. יובל, you are privileged. אתה פריבילג, יובל. יש לך מלא כסף, אוקיי? יש לך מלא כסף. אתה, כשאתה מרצה, אתה מרוויח מלא כסף על הרצאה, אוקיי? אתה פריבילג. החיים שלך טובים, החיים של אחרים רעים. בבקשה תכיר בזה כשאתה ניגש לדיון. יושרה אינטלקטואלית מינימלית מחייבת אותך להכיר בדבר הזה בצורה רצינית וכנה כשאתה ניגש לדיון. בבקשה. Okay.
Okay.
So what was my point?
Your point
I want to explain about liberalism. This is a
about
morality
the
of
masters. Yeah.
Okay, so what do? You speak above the heads of other people.
Yeah.
So you speak above the heads of Palestinians. You don't speak with Palestinians. You don't speak to Palestinians. You speak above the head of What is the solution to the Palestinian problem? And when I say this, immediately connotations. Okay?
Yeah.
Immediately connotations.
Yes.
So I don't think this is an accident. Okay?
Yeah.
And Yuval, you said at some point in the discussion, you said that I am not hurting your resistance, your struggle. Please do not criticize mine. Okay? And I feel that this is not true. And I told you that this is not true. I told you. And then I went to your Facebook profile and I saw some stuff that you wrote, okay? And you compared communism to Nazism, okay? And I declare myself as a communist to some degree, okay? So you called me a Nazi, okay? You called me a Nazi. But the historical truth is that liberalism was much more an accomplice to the actual Nazis than communism ever was. The Nazis exterminated communists and they cooperated with liberals, and I think this is a historical truth, a historical fact that needs to be taken very Seriously, okay? And we will do an episode, I think, about this. We will do an episode about this, about the history of liberalism, and it is a dark one. Guys, it is a dark one, and I want to recommend a series that we will put links to, The Dark Side of Liberalism, in which a YouTuber that I really like, I forget his name now because I watched it many years ago, like 3-4 years ago, and I forgot the name of the YouTuber, but we will find it and put it here. This series, The Dark Side of Liberalism, displays the history of the liberal movement, and it shows quote from the philosophers, the liberalist philosophers, and how it cooperated with capital, and so forth and so on, and the dark side of this. Okay, so we have real criticism about liberalism. Okay.
Yes, and I wanted to add about this thing you said
Yes.
about masters, and,
Yes.
and that I think it's also a question about covert and overt force.
Okay.
That I think it's two methods of control. Like the
Yes.
fascist way of control is brutal, is direct, it's unapologetic, and because of that it's less sustainable.
Yes.
And the liberal way is you try to make the force and the violence somehow more covert, you say?
Yes, covert. Yes,
Covert. And you want to, and you try to, yeah, and you try to kind of always contextualize the violence in
Yes.
a way that will be more digestible to people
Yes.
who
Yes.
who
Aesthetically digestible.
aesthetically who see themselves as moral human beings.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, and they want to feel like, you know, morally superior to the lower classes.
And this is why the argument is always we are doing it for them.
Yes.
Right? And I think this is very condescending. I think
Yes.
this is very condescending because I know that if you actually ask the actual people who are actually the victims of what is actually going on and actually listen to what they actually
kill us, please.
Yes, this is ridiculous on its face, but also you can actually listen to people and they are screaming at the tops of their lungs and trying to activate the entire world to scream at the top of their lungs, and this is why we are screaming at the top of our lungs.
Yes.
Stop this now. So many
Stop
people,
this
so
now.
many hundreds of millions of people
and I
around
think-
the world are screaming this.
And this is a good point to go back to what he said after, because
Yes.
the conversation went about the genocide. He said
Yes.
something like, let's agree to disagree, or some
I need to
other
say one
bullshit.
last thing about that. I need to say one. I am sorry. The ICJ case, okay?
Okay.
There is a case presented by South Africa. This is a country that has known apartheid, okay?
Yeah.
That has known oppression, that has known the oppression of Israel as well. Israel has participated in this apartheid actively in order to
It's
get
sisters states where, you know, they were born at the same time, at the
Yes.
same date, and they have similar method, not exactly the same.
Not
I
exactly
think
the
the
same.
Zionist case is way worse.
Now they went
It's way worse.
further
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
Okay.
But okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
South Africa presented this claim. What is the length of the document? Like 82 pages, right?
Yeah,
82
yeah.
pages with quotes upon quotes upon
And
quotes
footnotes,
of so many footnotes, so many, like they build the case. Okay? They build the case. Yuval.
And then majority of judges said that there's a
Yes,
plausible.
15 out of 17, 16 out of
Yeah.
17, every single decision.
Even if you don't know, but these people saying it's a very, very close possibility that this is what happens, every moral person on this planet should say, okay, I need to put my voice in order to make it stop.
Or, okay, I agree with this, but at the very least, like, find out what is going on in an intellectually honest
Yes.
way.
Yes.
In an intellectually honest way, find out what is going on. For
Yeah.
God's sake. So, okay, what the ICJ ruled is that there is a plausible case that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza, according to the strict definition of the UN. This is serious. Every citizen of Israel should be outraged completely at what is going on in your name. In your name.
Wow, it's crazy.
You should be able to say this is not in my name, and we are saying this is not in our name.
Think about the situation. Somebody's there killing in your name,
Yes.
and your reaction is, I don't want to hear about it.
I
I
don't
don't want
wanna
to
hear
talk
about
about it.
And this
It's not me.
relates, you know.
It's like, I don't want to But okay, so you say it's not you doing it, so why you have a problem with saying it's not you doing
Yeah.
and you're against it? And the moment you don't want to say it, it is you. And
Yeah.
I'm saying it to Yuval Noah Harari, and I say it to every fucking person who watched this.
Yes, yes. And I want to say this relates to us very personally, okay?
Yeah.
Because we were telling in the podcast, in two previous episodes, like special episodes about how we are doing, and we have a lot of resistance coming from our families, and we have a lot of problems with our families just because we are objecting to what is going on here.
Yeah.
Okay, just because of this.
Yes.
Politics is influencing our personal lives, and I am having a fight with my family, and this is tearing me apart. Okay,
Yes.
it's tearing me apart. It's so fucking difficult, and I will not surrender to like the demand to shut up.
Yes.
And this is what my family is asking me to do, to shut up. And Yuval, you are supporting this. You are supporting the silence. When you are silent, you are supporting the silence. I go back to what I was taught by the Zionist system. Okay, by the Zionist system, I was taught that people who are silent in the face of evil are accomplices to this evil, collaborators in this evil. This is what you said about how Europe reacted to what the Nazis did in the 1930s and 40s. Okay, this is what you said about Germans who didn't speak up against their fellow Germans, the Nazis, who committed crimes against us and against our families as well. Okay,
maybe it's a good point to call Dan, but I don't know. We do it.
let's bring Dan on. Okay,
Let's bring Dan. I think.
But maybe we will just finish the story. Okay.
Okay. So I just want to say.
Yeah.
I remember what he said. We don't remember exactly. He said something like, "Let's agree to disagree." But he said, "Okay, let's say I agree with you."
Yes.
I remember him saying, "Let's say I agree with you."
Okay.
I don't think it necessarily helps to talk about it.
Yes.
That's what he said.
And I think you have something to say about that, right?
Yeah, this to me that was the breaking point. And at the beginning, I couldn't. I had a bit difficulty to join the conversation because I have this, still I'm a trained.
Yeah.
Trained
You're an
product
anarchist.
of.
You're an anarchist at heart, but
I
you're
still have a
yeah.
process to do in
Yeah,
order
yeah.
when I face somebody that has like I don't
Yeah, status.
status and
Yes.
to confront people.
Yes,
in
yes,
general.
confront people.
I
in
feel
general, yes.
here comfortable with the
Yeah.
camera. I want
Yes.
to be, but
Yes, yes.
so but anyway, but after I was silent because I was shocked, because I was so shocked that somebody can say this.
Yes, yes.
Because to me, that was the worst thing that he said from all the stuff that
Okay,
he said.
so please answer this point, because if you think that this is so critical, please answer this point thoroughly. First, do you want to steelman him?
Let's steelman him.
Let's steelman. Okay.
Let's steelman him.
Okay.
It's hard for me emotionally also. I need to understand why, but maybe you can help me to say
I understand. I think that this is outrageous to you.
Yeah.
Because I think that this goes against one of your basic core beliefs.
It's like you said.
Like an axiom, right?
Yeah, it's somebody that going to against something that I feel is a building block of what it means to be like person with integrity.
Yes,
and
yes.
the most. But
so this is outrageous because you feel like maybe if you don't agree on this point, then how can a discussion be had?
Yeah.
Right? Like if you don't agree that, let's just say this outright. If you don't agree that an important truth should be said out loud,
Yeah.
this is weird to me. I really don't understand this point.
And
This position. I don't understand.
Okay, but in addition to that, let's Stillman.
Yes, okay. Let's stick.
Okay.
Okay.
So he didn't say it this way, but I think I understand what it meant,
Okay.
and I think that's the basic of like your utilitarian moral philosophy, to my mind, which I object.
Yes.
But we can have that he says, when we act, we need to ask what is the utility of what we're doing.
Yes.
And sometimes saying the truth is the right thing, and sometimes it's not. And what we should ask ourselves is what helps, not what is true.
A core value should be we need to tell the truth.
Yes.
When the truth is important, we should tell the truth. We should try to tell the truth. So I can add, we should try to tell the truth in a way that is respectful, in a way that is productive,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is honest, in a way that is direct, in a way that is compassionate, in a way that, in all the ways that we need to do it as best as we can,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to do it.
And
Okay?
I had now thoughts that came from something you told me.
Yeah.
Okay, you told me if someone want to justify violence, authority,
Yes.
the the burden of the proof of why he acts that way is on him.
Yes. This is something I learned from Noam Chomsky.
Yeah, so I thought I want to suggest a moral principle. You can say if you agree with
Yes.
it or not. That everybody should say the truth,
Yes.
and if you decide not to
The burden. Yeah.
from strategical reasons, the burden of proof why you are not doing so was you, and you have to tell me what else do you do instead of
Yes.
speaking,
Yes.
and
And
why it's more productive. Okay, now I want to say also,
Yes.
I think the reason atrocities happen
Yes.
because people are not the part of it, that people are not speaking enough
Yes.
about them, and many people speak now in the genocide in Gaza about the genocide in Gaza, but
Yes.
still not enough.
And in Israel, very few.
Very few.
Very few.
And this is part, so that's why you have the whole world around this thing that happening that feel helpless, but there's this shield of the domestic support that is so solid,
Yes.
and without it it wouldn't happen, and
Yes.
people.
There is an iron dome of consciousness
Yeah.
around Israel.
Yes, and I think that what people think, even though we can predict it from the understanding the structure, when, like, if you analyze the structure of the Zionist settler
system.
colonialist apartheid supremacist system, you can predict that most of the people, the privileged one, will support it, but it's still not deterministic.
Yes.
And it's depend on what people think, and I know that it's factually true that if person like Yuval Noah Harari will speak about it, many people are going to change
Yes.
their
Yes.
mind about
So
it.
let us just say how personal this is. Okay?
Yeah.
So both of our fathers appreciate Yuval Noah Harari, okay?
Yeah.
And both of us of our fathers used the way that Yuval Noah Harari thinks about this situation to justify their own thinking about the situation, which we believe is flawed. Okay? Which we believe is flawed. So Yuval, you have a lot of influence also on our fathers.
Yeah.
Okay? This is personal to us. This is
Yeah,
personal.
because when I talk to my father, I scream, I shout,
Yes.
and my father.
And you can throw two words and change his mind completely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Immediately.
have so much power on him.
You have a lot of power, and people, and I think one of the biggest heartbreak for me is that Israelis don't realize the truth.
Yes.
They need to realize the truth in order to heal themselves. I don't think everyone should be the most brave person in the world, but we need to make people understand, because I see this genocide in Gaza as the death of our culture. Maybe it was death beforehand, but
Yes.
this is like fucking
Yes.
death. We
Yes.
become shallow spirits. Nothing
Yes.
productive will come from our culture if people don't realize what happened, and this is your responsibility that people don't realize. Yeah, and I had to say this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe let's get to a little bit about why we are doing what we are doing now. Okay, how do we? What kind of let's say ethical questions we had before it, and how we explain why we chose to do what we are doing. So, do you have anything to say to start this discussion? And
In generally, what we're doing?
yeah. Yes, now in this episode.
Yes, okay. Because, yes, I wanted to. Because, firstly, when we met Yuval, when we met you, we're constantly speaking on him and to him, but that's
Yes.
because we're speaking to the audience and to you, and
Yes, yeah, it's fine.
And I felt like, wow, I thought you were really nice. You talked to us.
Yes.
And we didn't finish the whole story. I think we can say he said that, and then they kicked out of the.
Yes. the volume became a little bit too high to the owner of the place, and he said, please continue this outside. And Yuval, waited for you for a
Not
few minutes.
because of Yuval. Yuval kept.
Yes,
very,
it was
you.
I was loud. I tend to be somewhat loud. I admit it. I apologize,
You don't need to apologize.
and I'm working on it. Okay.
He should He should apologize that he is not loud. You shouldn't apologize that
Whatever.
you're loud.
Anyway,
Whatever.
I
Okay.
do want to say we waited outside for Yuval to finish his shopping,
Yeah.
and he came out and he continued the conversation with us for around 15 minutes more, and in total maybe 30 minutes of conversation. And we appreciate your time, Yuval. We know that you are a busy person, and you really listen to us. Okay. Maybe we don't like your answers, okay, and we are criticizing your answers, but we do appreciate that you did listen to us, and we. So let me just say, I gave Yuval the name of the podcast. I gave him our names. He said he might look at our content and might want to speak with us. He said probably not publicly.
Yeah.
Maybe personally.
I don't believe he will want to talk.
So
okay. I wanna say why I'm doing this.
So why are you doing this? Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? Because I felt, it took us a week because we talked to people if we should do this or not, and some people said it's not okay because he was nice to us, and then we kind of his agreement to talk with us privately was because I felt a bit bad because I thought he gave us trust.
Yes.
That we talked to him, that we, don't go, maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
I feel like there's a basic, I have, I would say it's like the don't gossip kind of. Don't talk about some information that somebody gave you in a personal conversation with somebody else. And
there is an ethical principle according to which what we are doing is not 100%.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
On an interpersonal level.
In an interpersonal level, and it was especially hard for me because well-known figure was nice to me, and I'm trained to look at these people like this, and he was nice, and I felt like I don't want to harm him.
Okay.
And
then what did you think?
And then I thought like this. First of all, we need to remember the time we are in history.
Yes.
And I got to the conclusion that in the current situation, I'm in a mood of, in a way, all bets are off.
Yes, yes.
And I more and more understand that this kind of interpersonal things, I wouldn't hurt. I don't want to hurt anybody if it's not necessary. But the amount of power that this men have to influence actually lives and to save life is too big for me to. It's more important than this interpersonal ethics.
Yes. And I will say as well that I feel like these interpersonal ethics are being used in a dishonest way to benefit the cult of Zionism, to benefit the silencing of what is going on, to benefit the continuation of these crimes without any criticism. Okay? And I feel like this is part of the machine, and I feel like this is what liberals do. Okay? They cooperate with fascism in a way that kind of silences criticism in the name of interpersonal niceties. Okay? And I do not want to be
behaved.
And I do not want to be taken advantage of in this way. And I feel that this might make me an accomplice in the cult. Okay? And also, I don't want to play the game anymore. Because the game led to a genocide. Okay, so I don't want to play the game by the rules anymore.
So why are we protecting this game?
Because I'm always losing, in this game, and I think that when I'm losing, everybody loses.
And then they tell you like you are not playing the game of well-behaved.
But why are these the rules of the game? No one asked me what the rules of the game should be, and if you asked me, I would decide on different rules.
And also, I want to say, another thing. I'm totally comfortable if any person who talked to me about this subject will go and say, Elik said this and that and that. I don't fucking care. So I hope that and if you do, you have a reason to look in the mirror.
Yes, I think this is the most important point.
Yeah.
If Yuval, you feel uncomfortable by us exposing what was said in the conversation between us,
Yes.
I think that this is an indication
Mm-hmm.
that something might be wrong and you should look at yourself, okay?
Yes.
Because let me tell you outright, we do not have any problem with any detail of this conversation coming out.
Yes.
We stand behind what we said completely, and if something was said, we were misunderstood or we misspoke or we change our minds, we will happily admit it, say so, be intellectually honest and open, okay?
Yeah, and it's taking me back to I think the world is a piece of shit
Yes.
because of people like you say what it will help if I say the truth. What I say to you here is what I say to Israelis, is what I say to Palestinians, is what I say to Yuval Noah Harari, it's what I will say to my father, it's
To
what
Germany,
I say to Germany, I
to
say
the US.
and the more you're consistent with your moral value, the more the same thing you would say to everyone.
Yes, yes.
And I think
Yes.
it's an important point.
Yes. And I must emphasize, all we want is for you, Yuval, to actually express. I need to say something. After this conversation, and after going over Yuval's Facebook profile, I am still not sure
What
what
is
his
his position?
positions are on several issues.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think this is weird that something that has been called by the highest court of the UN a plausible case for genocide did not get your, like, you did not talk about it enough so that we know what your position is about basic questions regarding this issue.
Yes.
And I think this is, at the very least, weird.
And I want to say that I suggested to Alon, just in this line of thinking, that I want to open kind of a series of podcasts that we call Poking the Bear.
Poking the bear, yeah.
Because I think if we continue to be nice,
Yes.
we just lose the battle.
Yes.
And calling out people on what they say or don't say
Yeah.
is a necessary tool in the struggle.
And you know what? We have the support of many radical thinkers along the centuries who say, do not follow the usual societal rules if you want to change society.
Yes.
And we are not. So when I'm thinking about what we are doing, we are not being violent. We are not lying.
Right. We're speaking respectful, man.
We are trying to speak as respectfully as we can. We don't some positions we do not respect because we think they are damaging to society and not intellectually honest, and we will say this.
Yeah.
Okay, but other than that, we are, I think, as respectful as needed to have a rational and calm discussion about what is going on here. Even though I don't know if it's. See, this is another point where liberalism kind of, they demand that you speak calmly about everything. I do not want to speak calmly about genocide.
Yeah.
I do not want to speak calmly about murder. So I want to make an analogy, and I want to relate it to something that is very dear to your heart, Yuval. So I asked you, at some point in the discussion, I asked you, are you vegan? And you said vegan-ish. I have a basic problem with this kind of answer, okay? I think it relates to what we are talking about. But maybe I will not go too deeply into this because it is not the point. So, what I wanted to say is that if, for example, here is one of the arguments that I say about, like, when people tell me, why are you so outraged by what is going on by the non-human animal or Holocaust, okay? Where tens of billions of animals are killed, are slaughtered every single year over worldwide. Maybe it's like even higher than that at this point. And hundreds of billions of animals are being abused and tortured as we speak. Okay? And Yuval, you agreed with me that this is one of the worst crimes in the history of Earth. I think it is the worst by far.
I would say that you influenced me to think about veganism in some interview I heard.
Yes, you also influenced me as well. In part of just by reading *Sapiens*, Yuval's book. I became stronger. I was already vegan, but I became stronger in my veganism because of your explanations, Yuval, and I truly appreciate it. And Here is one of the arguments that I use. What if there was a human baby on the table here, the corpse of a human baby on the table here? How would you react? There is a corpse of a cow baby here, or of a chicken baby here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference? The difference is only about human supremacy, only about
Yes.
speciesism,
Mm-hmm.
which is like parallel to racism, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like white supremacy, human supremacy. This is it. You care more about human babies than you care about cow babies, right?
Yes.
And I am reacting like 1%
Mm-hmm.
of what you would react if this was a human baby, and you still are upset with me for being extreme.
Yeah.
You demand that I remain calm when there is a corpse in front of me.
Yes.
Okay, this is insane
Yeah.
in my mind.
And it
Okay,
is just
and
factually what
Yuval,
happens.
the demand to be calm in the face of genocide, you would not. Here is the place of privilege and bias. Okay, that is coming here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Yuval, you would not talk the same if what was happening to Jews in Israel. I think you would not talk the same
Would
way.
not talk the same way. It's like the oppressed say, "Don't kill me,"
Yes,
and the oppressor say, "Can you please talk nicely
yes,
and
yes.
respect my emotions?"
Okay, so where do we want to continue at this point?
I think there was one thing that we didn't touch yet. I think it's important principle, and this is not just about Yuval.
Okay,
Your opinions about life of other people is not just your own thing.
yes, that is true.
And if you were talking with me about what happens in Gaza, so people just be aware. I think it's our when you in such situation, your opinions matter,
Yes,
and it's not just your own opinions. And I'm not saying I'm going to expose everybody. I still like. I'm not saying I'm rejecting this principle entirely,
yes,
but it's a point that I wanted to make because people, what the liberalism tell, keep your opinions to yourself,
yes,
and but but then like you create a situation that you cannot challenge the structure
yes,
because
yes.
the what people have in mind
This is why we say that liberalism is a form of conservatism.
yeah
Conservatism by indirect means.
yeah
Okay, and this is our maybe central challenge
yeah and
to
this
liberalism.
separation between the personal and the political
Yes,
we don't
we think it's fake,
we think it's fake.
and we have like let me just say there is a whole school of philosophical thought, neo-Marxism, that really analyzes this deeply, and this is and they prove that the political and the personal are not separate, and they do it. I think I don't know the history exactly, but I got the impression that the reason that they did it is to challenge liberalism, okay,
Yes.
to bring more radical thought into the discussion. Okay, so I think this is a good time to again mention the quote by Martin Luther King in his letter from Birmingham jail, which, Yuval, please read this letter that Martin Luther King wrote. I want to tell you, person to person, okay, that I read this letter several years ago in full because I knew this quote of Martin Luther King that I will soon read, and I wanted to read the full context, and I found a very deep moral, you know, good-hearted, well-intentioned, uh, multifaceted human who is speaking in a very direct and honest way, and also very eloquently,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and explaining his position
And
about the resistance of the black people in the US to the system of supremacy and oppression that was forced upon them.
and I just want to add something
Yeah.
short that MLK is someone that the liberal establishment retroactively adopted as a hero
Yes, but whitewashed as well.
and whitewashed. Yes.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say that my father once told me,
Yes.
what is a conservative? Someone who adores a dead radical.
Hmm.
Um, so I
Yes.
think that's why we're saying you reject us now, but history we're not gonna be. That's how history. It's part of how it
Yeah.
operates.
Yes.
Because the liberals cannot. They want to say they're in the good side retroactively, so they
Yes.
adopt. Not in
Yes.
his time, but after they adopt. Now
Yeah.
look how radical this guy
And
that
let
you.
us read the quote. Let us read the quote. I think this is very telling. And please, Yuval, read the entire letter, because I think that you have some stuff to think about with the point that he is raising. Okay, he is talking to you. He is talking to you in the name of the Palestinians. Really, really, that is what I think he is doing through history. He is talking to you. So please read it carefully and seriously. Okay, so the quote is, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, the extreme white supremacists,
Mhm.
but the white moderate. And Yuval, he is
This is
talking
you.
to you,
To you. Yes.
who is more devoted to order than to justice. You want negative peace, Yuval. He will talk about this. You want quiet. You don't want peace. You want paternalistic peace. Who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension. Okay, you prefer, oh, we reduce the violence, we reduce the violence, we reduce the
Mhm.
violence. The absence of tension to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. And this is what I want to say to liberals. You speak about compassion. You speak about compassion, but compassion still centers on you, guys. Compassion still centers on you. And the center, you are not the heroes of the story. The people you are oppressing and the animals you are oppressing is the real hero, are the real heroes of this story. And you try to center this story around you and your compassion. And compassion is something you can give or take away.
Mm.
Paternalistically, compassion assumes that you are on top.
Yes.
And we do not want compassion. We are demanding justice.
Yeah.
Justice is a completely different thing. It does not depend on your emotions. It does not depend on what you think in your on your high horse and in your throne. Okay? It does not depend on you. It depends on the victims, on the
Yes.
oppressed. Justice, they are demanding justice, and we are demanding justice for them. This is why we are allies. Okay?
Right. And I would just want to add one thing
Yes.
that what to add to what MLK is saying
Yes.
that why liberalism fail and why it always collapse into fascism
Yes.
because you cannot have a, a society without tension
Yes.
when you don't have justice,
Yes.
and that's what happened. That's why it
You
always.
imagine that there is no tension, but you just
Yeah.
push the tension away.
And I think I started off as Zionist left, and then I
Yes.
stood on this cliff that I had to pick a choice: do I go to fascism
Yes.
and support and also look at myself, in honesty, what I supported before, or I take the extra step and I understand that because liberalism has good idea, just liberals don't want to live up to this idea
Yes.
fully, and that's our case against Yuval, and that's why they end up saying in the midst of a genocide, I don't think it will help to talk
Yes.
about it.
Yes. And reality is that you are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay? And I must say, if Yuval, if you just say, I'm afraid to talk about it, I'm afraid to lose what I have,
We would appreciate
I
you.
would appreciate it. I would appreciate the honesty and I would say, yes, I understand. But this is not what you say. You say other things, and I must be direct here. I do not believe you, Yuval. I do not believe you in what you say. I think you are making up excuses, like intellectual justifications and like rationalizations, post hoc rationalizations for what you already decided out of fear. And I think we are not in a situation where we can succumb to fear. This is what we criticize about the accomplices of the Nazis. Okay? So we still need to criticize it now. Okay, and I want to continue reading MLK's quote. Okay, so yes, So, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, like you said to us,
Yes.
Yuval. You said, I agree with you
It's exactly
in the
how
goal
it
you
is.
seek.
Yeah.
But I can't agree with your methods of direct action. I don't agree with the way that you are speaking. You are speaking too directly.
Yes.
Who paternalistically feels that he can set the timetable for another man's freedom. You claim that democracy is impossible now, so Palestinians cannot have
Yeah.
freedom.
And I support two states somewhere in the
Yes, yes,
future.
vaguely.
Yeah, vaguely.
Who lives by the myth of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. We need to destroy Hamas now, and maybe later we will give you freedom.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
Talk to us later.
Yes.
Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. And I must say that I identify with this completely.
Yeah.
I do not appreciate intellectualizing of morality.
Mm-hmm.
I do not appreciate it. I do not appreciate hiding behind rationalizations. Okay?
Yeah. And we're not gonna buy into sweet talk
Yes.
anymore.
Yes. Yes. Because the hour is too dire.
Yeah, we cannot be stupid, and this. I felt how his softness made me want to. Oh,
Yes.
he's
You
so
smiled
nice.
to us. You smiled to us. And you said things that I must say I don't think they are true. Like, for example, you said that you agree with us, and I don't think that you agree with us. I think that we have really fundamental disagreements.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about these disagreements, and I do not appreciate people telling me that they agree with me when they have fundamental disagreements with me. Okay?
That's,
I need to put this on the table. We have fundamental disagreements
Yeah.
that we need to discuss
Yes.
as equals because we are anarchists.
Who tells you they agree with you in the dot? Politicians, salesmen.
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Okay, so this is MLK's quote. Okay, and I think, please, Yuval, read the entire letter. I think you will find it fascinating. Really, I do. From the bottom of my heart, I recommend to you this letter. It is a masterpiece. I think a masterpiece of rhetoric, of like philosophy, of radical thinking and political action from a great man. I think who was killed because of his support for the freedom of his people. Okay, so I just want to say that in the end of the conversation, what I said to Yuval was, you, I have 3,000 ish followers on Instagram, okay, and maybe 1,000 on YouTube, okay. We've done some stuff, and and people are listening to us, but it's not the same as Yuval Noah Harari. I'm sorry, like
No.
not
Not
like,
even close.
not even close. You, Yuval, have 500,000 followers on Facebook. I do not know how many on Twitter, on YouTube. I do not know. But you also have millions, maybe tens of millions of people around the world who really look up to you and really
Yeah.
want to know what you think about things. And this includes both of our fathers, right? And I know that you have a lot more influence than we do. And we want to tell you that and this is what I told Yuval in the conversation, I want you to use this influence that you acquired, I think, rightfully, okay? I think you do deserve the stage that you have because you have said some very deep and interesting things in a way that is eloquent, that is respectful, and you opened my mind. So you deserve this stage, and I expect you. This is why I'm disappointed, because I expect you to use this stage that you have to spread a message of justice, of peace, of cooperation, of harmony, which you preach, which you say that you support these things. So what does this mean in practice? So it's us again from 2 weeks later. And ever since we recorded this episode, we had a lot of thoughts. And we wanted to close this episode by sharing some of those thoughts that we had uh, regarding the article that Yuval wrote and conversations that we had with friends and amongst ourselves. Elik, do you want to start?
Yes, I feel like mainly the main issue that we have with Yuval is not with him personally, even though we do think that his position shows some personal weaknesses, but it's not the point. The point is that I feel that people like him and ideologies like him, it's by showing some facade of critical thinking, actually they allow what's going on to continue. And in Israel, it happens in many sorts of ways. For example, one of them is to be super critical of Netanyahu, but to say not even one critical word about Zionism in general.
Yes, or being critical of the occupation of the West Bank and of the siege of Gaza, but not about the actual Zionist project as a whole.
As a whole, and not to, and not to even try to address, because in Israel it's like screams, because Zionism, like how a secular personnel like Yuval can protect Zionism, it makes
Yes, which is a religious ideology.
Yeah, it makes no sense at all.
Yes.
But he would just not talk about it. And if you read also closely his article, he's not criticizing, for example, the whole thing. He just said we should do it differently.
Yes.
We should do it more. And it's something I hear all the time, and it's like he's just reflecting something in society. Is not.
Yes.
But I think intellectuals can have a choice between being people who just reassure to the people what they want to hear, or to be people who actually make a change.
Yes.
And to be a person who make a change, it means you're gonna lose audience. It means you're gonna say stuff that maybe will really risk your privilege.
Or give you some backlash.
And give you some backlash. So I think, to me, I see Yuval and people like him as some kind of puppet or a doll. And I feel we can all... I have a line in one of my songs that I said you can either be a puppet or you can be a prophet. Like in a critical historical times, like you can, and he chooses to be puppet again and again and again, but it's his choice. Yuval, it's your choice. You don't have to be, but this is what you're choosing to do in a way.
Yes, and I want to generalize and say that this is the liberal position in general. I think that liberalism is a position of cowards and of people who are not intellectually honest enough to be radical and are not brave enough to go against the system that gives them the privilege that they enjoy. Okay? And as you said, liberalism, and an example of this is Zionist left, okay, gives people who otherwise would go against fascism. They don't want to be fascists, those people, but it gives them, like our fathers, for example,
an easy way out.
Yes, it gives them an excuse to actually be fascists, to actually be conservative, and it gives you yourself, Yuval, an excuse to be a conservative, to be a fascist, but not to admit that you are one. And Yuval, you claim to be an intellectually deep person. You claim to be someone who is radical, who speaks sincerely and frankly and deeply about important subjects. And I must say that following our conversation, following the article that you published, and following thinking about all of these issues more and more and more, my appreciation for you has gone down significantly. Okay? And if you want to restore this appreciation, I offer you to come and have an actual, honest, intellectual discussion with us. Okay? come talk to us seriously about what is going on, because what is going on is serious, and you are supposedly a serious person. You are actually a person with a lot of power, okay? And we want you to use this power for good, to effect positive change, true positive change, and not just preserve the current situation and your privileged position in it. And if you truly want to stand behind your supposed values, we want to challenge you to have a real discussion about them. So we invite you to come over to our podcast, Yala, in which we interview people from all kinds of political positions, from all kinds of identities. You can watch the previous episodes that we did on this podcast, and we want to have an actual discussion with you, not a fake one.
I wonder, I think we said it all, didn't we? Like, I wonder if I have something to add. Like, I want to say this is maybe a call basically not just for Yuval, because I feel like we're talking to him, but I want to tell everyone who watches this that sitting on the fence because of some, because it's complicated, because they want to preserve something, like, wake up, guys. Like, it's already too late,
Yes.
but it's not too late. Like, and if you're just like reclaim your own morality. It's like it's a really battle for like your own soul. That's how I see it now. And don't be there's nothing really to lose. Like people claim to liberalism, to all these sorts of like, I don't know, it's complex. Let's say it should have been done differently. Let's blame Bibi Netanyahu and hope, like, no, let's it's not, we don't have time to waste on these kinds of
Yes, every
arguments.
day, dozens of people are being killed in Gaza. Every
Yeah.
day, millions of people are being oppressed in Gaza and in the West Bank. Every day, hundreds of millions of people, maybe billions of people, are being oppressed all over the world by the powers that be. And we need to wake up, and we need to wake up not even now, 10 years ago, 100 years ago,
Yeah.
300 years ago. But if we haven't woken up yet, we need to wake up now.
Now is the time.
Yes. Okay, so thank you everybody for listening to us talking for so long. And again, we will do another episode where we deconstruct Yuval's article. And again, please go watch the companion episode to this episode where we talk with Dan Ben Yishay and deconstruct the argument from a historical Marxist perspective. And Elik, one last thing you want to say before we close this episode?
No, freedom for all, justice, peace.
Yes.
It's possible. It had to happen already. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Freedom for all, justice for all, and peace.
Yeah.